pour me a shot. They all say,
Well, thanks for joining us for Beyond the Stage. My name is Ruth Egerman, and I'm the Director of Marketing at Livermore Valley Arts. And I'm here with our host and Executive Director, Chris Carter. Say hi, Chris.
Hey Ruth, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. It's so it is August, and we're recording this show today in August, but it is not going to drop until December. So so we should think about December.
Okay.
Um, do you have any plans yet for your December holidays?
No. I
No,
don't have anything to
not
talk
yet.
about. It's too
You,
too
you
far
you don't
away.
have a Christmas wish list yet? None of that stuff.
No.
Uh, you know what? I don't have plans either, so that's okay.
Yeah,
After,
I think for the holidays, when our kids were little, it was important for us to do Christmas Eve and Christmas morning at home.
yeah,
Um, but lately, now that they're older, we'll go down to Southern California and stay with, my mother-in-law or go visit my parents, and it's uh, not as important as far as where we go,
right,
as long as we're together. So
yeah,
we've changed over the years.
yeah. That's what happens, I think. You have traditions that start off your family, and then traditions that become new to your family.
Yeah,
So it sounds like
exactly.
you're right in there in that sweet spot of developing some new stuff.
Yep.
Do you ever do anything special for New Year's Eve?
I usually try to go to bed before midnight. That's my tradition.
Are you
Um,
serious, really?
ah, yeah, I don't know. When I was in my 20s, I'd like to go out and find a party somewhere, but
Yeah.
nowadays I tend to watch the New Year's Rockin' Eve, and when the ball drops in New York, I'm happy. I feel
You're
good.
done.
Yeah. I will say though, I love New Year's because of uh, the clean slate thing.
Yeah.
And starting a new year is I always feel so optimistic. It's setting goals, and um, that's always such a great feeling.
Yeah.
You know,
You,
it's
so
it's
you're so are you the type of person who sets New Year's resolutions?
I do. I
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
What about this year, this current year, 2024? Did you have a New Year's resolution you can talk about with us?
I don't know if I have. Oh, you mean for this last year that we did?
Yeah, for the current year, yeah.
Oh gosh. No, I don't think I can't remember any off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's around like music, like I because I like to play music and I want to play. It'll be just to play more.
Hmm.
Or if I think one year my resolution was like this year you're gonna write the best song you've ever written, or something like that. So I like doing that kind of stuff. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
I think for me, I've never been one to set a resolution on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, but I do think about it and think, oh, this year I'd really like to focus on this, or this year when I think of somebody that I haven't spoken to in a while, I'm just going to
yeah,
pick up the phone and call them or shoot them a text message or an email or something. I know that that was something that I set, uh, you know, years ago and sort of have just made that part of who I am. Uh, I also think that because being Jewish and and having a whole New Year's thing that goes on in the fall, September, October timeframe, where it is really about reflecting. It's not a ball dropping holiday or get drunk
yeah,
and stay up till midnight kind of holiday type of
yeah,
thing. It is all about reflection, and so a lot of times during that period, I'll stop and really think about things where I'll reflect on the last year and think about what I want to change in the coming year, what I want to do better, how I want to grow as a human
yeah.
being. And that's usually when I do a lot of that deep thinking about that
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
you should. That's well,
Yeah.
everybody should do that. And it just occurred to me, like I like to play golf. It's like kind of that feeling when you walk up to the first tee,
Hmm.
you're excited. It's going to be a great day. You know, you're really looking forward to doing well. And I feel like, the first of the year, it's the same feeling. It's like I'm walking up to this first tee, and I'm
Right.
gonna have a good round this year. Um, yeah,
I like that.
I did remember the one resolution that I I kept the best one year was I resolved to floss more. It and
How's that
that
going for you?
it's still doing it. That was like 5 or 6 years ago. Um, I think because I had a dental appointment and they're like, you really got to floss more. So I made that one of my resolutions.
I think they
And
say that no matter what.
yeah, but it's a good one, right?
It's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good New Year's resolution to floss more.
Floss more, floss every day.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and another tip somebody told me, I don't do this all the time, but when you write your resolutions down, like put them on a piece of paper and like tape it to the inside of your medicine cabinet or something that you open every day so that you see
Yeah.
it every day, which is also good advice. So it kind of
That's
stays at the
interesting.
top of mind. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I've looked at things I've written down, years ago, and half the things never materialize. But I just that feeling of optimism, I just love. I love that time of year.
Oh, well, that's good. Well,
Um,
speaking of New Year's Eve, we are talking to our New Year's Eve artist, Jeff Bordes, who will be here with Jeff Bordes and Friends swinging in the new year on, I think it's a Tuesday, but it's definitely December 31st. The show starts at 8 p.m. It's going to be a unique show on the stage at our Stage Door Lounge, and we're going to have apps and we're going to have drinks, and it's going to be a great time. And it's going to be limited. It's going to be a small crowd, but a nice sized crowd. And, uh, and it's going to be super fun. So stay tuned here. Listen to Jeff Bordes. We learned a lot of really interesting things about him. Not only is he a great jazz musician with a long history of that, but he's also uh, he's in the food industry and works with celebrity chefs. So that sounds fascinating. He's a fascinating guy. This was a fun interview, one of my favorites for sure.
yeah, great story. Yeah, I enjoyed it too. He's a good guy, and I'm glad to call him a friend. So
Yeah.
absolutely. So Jeff, we're so happy to have you here, and you're going to be playing at the Bankhead Theater on December 31st, New Year's Eve, our big New Year's Eve party. So we're excited that you're coming out. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's a pretty unique event that we haven't done before. But we'll talk about that. But Jeff, there's a couple of things I wanted to learn about you that I don't know. I feel like
Yeah.
I've known you a little while, but I want to get to know you better. First of all, you and I are the same age, so I've been seeing all this stuff all online. How you got a big 50th birthday party coming up? Is
This
that
is
true?
the big 5-0 this year. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When is that?
My birthday is the 15th of September.
Okay.
We're doing a big,
Oh,
Bordes birthday bash in Livermore and Almost Famous on the 14th.
That's awesome.
super fun.
Unfortunately, this
Are you?
podcast is going to go out after your party, but I'll see if I can make it out. That sounds like a lot. I hope it's not sold out yet, is it?
We just tickets just went on sale to the public on Monday. I
Okay.
haven't checked to see, but I think there's still seats.
All right. So
Yeah.
you and I were born in the same year. I'm a couple weeks after you. So happy birthday, man.
You do look younger than me, so
And I look younger than you both, and
You
I'm the
do.
oldest one here. So.
Yeah. That's funny how that works out.
that's when's your birthday?
In November.
Okay, nice.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. Did you grow up in Pleasanton, Jeff? I thought I
did.
read you're from Pleasanton originally, right?
Yeah, grew up in Pleasanton and Vintage Hills and went to Amador. So that's my town.
Yeah. Was it a hoppin' jazz space back in the day in the 80s?
I don't know if Pleasanton was per se, but Amador High School was definitely when I was in high school was known for having one of the best jazz programs in the country.
Okay.
And
Who,
Wow.
yeah, so we did all the big national competitions and state competitions, and the director at that time was a gentleman by the name of Greg Brown, who I'm still very close with, and he was known for building a strong jazz program, and he continued to do so at the other schools that he went on to. So,
what was your first instrument?
I grew up playing piano. My mom had the thought that and she was right that before going on to any other instruments you should learn piano first. So just up the street from where I lived was a great piano teacher, Mrs. Butler, and I used to go
Hmm.
with her when I was a kid. And then as I got older, I saw well, when I was younger, I saw Dizzy Gillespie playing trumpet on Sesame Street, and I always knew that that's the instrument I wanted to play. And so when it was time to pick an instrument, I picked the trumpet. And immediately at that time, there were music stores in the mall that sold cassettes, if you remember what those are.
Yeah.
And I remember my mom taking me to Camelot Music or something like that in Stonehenge Mall. After picking up a trumpet, we went and got a Dizzy Gillespie tape, a Wynton Marsalis tape, and a Miles Davis tape. And then from that point forward, I was set on the trumpet, and ended up touring with Dizzy when I was 17. And I told him that picked trumpet because of him, and he was like, "Yeah, every kid tells me that."
Dizzy Gillespie. Wow, you toured with them. What was
Yeah,
that like?
that was amazing. It was so it was part of the Monterey Jazz Festival. At the time they had it was called the Monterey Jazz All Stars, and they would put
Hmm.
together a band featuring the best musicians in the state. I think at the time it was even in the country. You had to audition. It was kind of a prestigious band to be a part of, and performing and touring with Dizzy was part of that program, because he was all about really helping inspire and bring kids into jazz. And I was honored to it was actually the year right before he passed away. I was honored
Wow.
to be a part of that
Oh,
celebration with him.
I
that is so
went
cool.
I went to that festival when I was in high school. I might have seen you.
So this was actually
What?
funny enough, talking about birthdays. This was when I turned 18, so 17 into 18. So it was the summer, September 19, I guess that'd be 1992. Um, Yeah, and that was with Dizzy. In fact, we rehearsed for a week before the festival, and he on my 18th birthday, he we had a rehearsal, and he came in and played "Happy Birthday" to me, which for a kid that
What?
picked the instrument because of him, was that was like a dream come true. It was pretty crazy.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah,
yes,
that's
we
super
were there in
awesome.
92. That was yeah, we were playing with Diz and John Faddis, and who else did we have in the band? It was a pretty big, pretty awesome all-star band.
Wow.
And where else so you said you toured with them, so obviously you played at more places than the Monterey Jazz Festival. Where else did you
Yeah, we
go?
spent 3 weeks in Japan.
Oh, cool. Very
That's
cool.
Yeah,
t- I meant for me, I guess the equivalent would be like Eric Clapton playing guitar for me on my birthday or something like that. That's pretty amazing.
that would be pretty awesome too.
Yeah, you never know. He's still around.
That's true. That's
I'd
true.
take either of them.
We'll get him at the bankhead.
Yeah.
So you toured Dizzy. Who else have you toured with? I saw some pretty big names on your bio. And did any of them really kind of stand out for you that you really enjoyed?
Um, I mean, Diz, just because he was the reason I played music. I mean, he's the reason I picked trumpet, and was so inspiring for me. But I've had the pleasure of touring with other groups, and being on tours with other groups such as Tom Petty and Sheryl Crow, and Bonnie Raitt was a big fan of a band that I toured with called the Heather Combs Band, and so we did some stuff with her. So,
Hmm.
but I- I'd say just because of where my path went with music, I'd say that Dizzy Gillespie experience was pretty amazing.
It
Yeah,
sounds
well,
amazing.
yeah,
It
it
really
was
does.
it was all downhill from there, I guess.
Yeah,
Um, do you write music too?
I do. I
You
do.
do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, talk about, well, do you write lyrics or is it?
I don't write lyrics, though, with the advancement of artificial intelligence, I think I could be an amazing songwriter. Um,
Just ask Chat GPT to write a song for
that's
you.
exactly right. No,
They're out there.
I haven't written lyrics. We I guess we're kind of up to 2 years ago. Um, I worked with a lyricist to write a song. I worked with we all know her, Meredith McHenry.
Oh yeah.
I went to her coming up to so one of my big shows that I do every year is in New Orleans Christmas. It's Jeff Bordes and Friends, and we take on usually New Orleans music, or we did a blues Christmas one year. We did a funky Christmas with a couple of the guys from Tower of Power a couple years ago. I change it up every year, but a couple years ago I had this thought of writing a Christmas song, um, and the reason being is because Christmas is, even though it's so joyous and the music is always so happy and uplifting, it's not always, and we can all relate to this.
Mhm.
It's not always the most fun part of the year because it can get stressful. It can get stressful. I think this was right around the time I actually lost my father, and it was like, coming up to a Christmas, the first Christmas without my dad. He just passed away, or for those that have recently gone through a divorce, or for those that have lost a job, and it can be a stressful time. Even if you don't have all that, it can be a stressful time because you have to deal with family and you have to,
Yeah.
gifts and all that. So I know it's not a. I wanted to write a song about that experience, and I went to Meredith and said, I have this vision. Imagine going into a bar and Santa Claus is behind the bar pouring drinks, and just like anybody else, you go into a bar and you just dump your problems on the bartender. That's the song I want to write, and
Mhm.
want it to be called "Santa Pour Me a Shot." And so Meredith and I together, we wrote the song, we wrote the lyrics together, and arranged the song, and it ended up being an amazing song that anyway, it's on YouTube. We're gonna record it probably this year, hopefully in time for Christmas. Santa Pour Me a Shot. So that was the first time I ever dealt with lyrics, but I didn't
Wow.
write the lyrics. Meredith did.
And did you sing, or did Meredith do the
Did not
singing?
sing. Meredith sang.
Okay,
Do you
we'll
ever
have to
sing?
find that.
Do you?
Yeah, there's I don't know if the audience appeases me and they just say they like it, but there is one song, that I will take to the microphone. It's there's a hole in the bucket. My bucket's got a hole in it. That's the name of the song.
Yeah.
It's an old traditional song. So I think that song is very forgiving as far as you don't need to be a perfect singer to sing it.
That's I joke when I sing songs and I will cover a song. I'll sing something that's like Bob Dylan or it's somebody that's like not a very good singer
Yeah,
already,
exactly.
and
Yeah.
you're right. It gives people a little bit of latitude when they sing something.
You're nailing it. You're nailing it.
In my
I
mind, it
saw
sounds awesome.
I saw Bob Dylan and Paul Simon in a concert together at Shoreline in Mountain View, and they each did a set. But when they came out together in between their sets, and they did a duet of "Sounds of Silence." And I just thought, well, this really doesn't work.
It's not working for you.
It wasn't working for me. That's for
Yeah.
sure. I just
Well,
thought it was an odd one.
Jeff, when you write music, do you have like a process or how do you go about it? And like what sparks your creativity? I always like to learn, how people go about being creative. So what's your method?
I usually start with just an idea. My playing I feel is very melodic. I feel like I'm singing lyrics through the trumpet, even though there's no lyrics, obviously. I feel that my performing has always been I guess Chet Baker, trumpet player Chet Baker always, that was his style as well.
You know,
When he improvised, he actually in his head he was actually making up lyrics along with his improvisation, and the byproduct of that was a very melodic solo. And I feel that I'm very, very similar, and I'm very um I feel music does a great job at nailing a mood. And so I'll start with that
Yeah.
idea first and foremost, and have that kind of mood I'm going for. And then the next step for me is really just playing around with that mood and playing around with melodies and until I come up with something that I feel hits that mood.
Mhm.
And then from there I'll fill it in with the rhythm section and kind of going after the overall vibe that I'm going for. So
It's interesting. Somebody told me once to give me some good advice for the guitar when soloing. He said, play it like you would sing it.
yeah,
And that was like some of the best advice I'd ever gotten. That was a long time ago, but I still think about that all the time.
amazing.
It
Even if
makes a
you're
lot of
not,
sense.
yeah, with jazz they say, when you're learning a melody, a standard melody, it's very, very important to memorize or to know the lyrics, even if there's no lyrics involved, right?
Hmm.
A standard, um, and just to know what the lyrics are behind the song, because it puts that emotion, um, behind your playing. And so I think that is important, even if you're not singing the lyrics, to know what the purpose of that song.
Yeah. Do you get emotional sometimes when you play?
I'd say so. Yes.
Yeah.
Chris, you know me, I'm an emotional guy anyway.
Yeah. You're
uh,
passionate.
yeah, no, I for sure, for sure. Always have, and I always, when you're going through difficult times, music is definitely a therapy. Uh,
Yeah.
and so whatever you're going through at that given time definitely comes out through your music.
Yeah. And do you have like a favorite key that you like to play in, or kind of like I don't know, some sort of a pattern that you really, it's kind of your go-to, or
I mean, I
are you,
love the blues. I love
yeah,
the blues. I love soulful blues. I love um, definitely minor keys.
yeah,
Um, and I feel that you have more flexibility, more freedom to express yourself in you know in a blues soulful, in a minor key. I think it's just a little bit easier to pour your heart into it.
yeah. Well, let me ask you, Jeff, this is something I kind of struggle with, especially with our audience and this area, is sometimes jazz, especially jazz, is hard to reach people with, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure, what is it about jazz that people are a little bit hesitant or tentative, or what can we do to open people up to being, wanting to come and listen to it and appreciate it.
Chris, it's a really, really good question, because I'm probably going to upset a lot of jazz musicians right now. um Jazz is not a audience friendly music in many regards. If you go see jazz today, in at Yoshi's or some of these clubs, um, it's going to be, in my opinion, musicians playing for musicians. And unless you're a true, authentic jazz fan that loves bebop and all that,
Yeah.
that's great. But to your point, that's not a large audience. Me personally, I'm not what they call a burner. I'm not playing a million notes per minute and playing bebop. And whenever I'm in those settings, I can. Whenever I'm in those settings, I feel that that's just a bunch of musicians playing for musicians, or playing for yourself, even worse. And for me, the reason I play music, and this is, I feel why my shows do so well, is a big part of the show is songs is well, big part of the show is putting together the concept. Beyond besides that, the next step is putting together the right musicians. This is why
Hmm.
I change up. I have my core group, but I'll change up different musicians here and there. And then, but really, it comes down to picking the right material and structuring it in a way that builds a show, that programs a show, that tugs at your heart. And so for me, even though I'm playing jazz, it's not that jazz that goes over your head. Really, for me, every show I do is all about, I want that audience to have a night of their life, and just
Yeah.
to be entertained, to be amazed by the musicians that I bring, to be amazed by the, the songs that we selected. The purpose is to elevate the evening for them that night. So, um, and we deliver on that. And so I don't, I think, yes, of course I'm doing jazz, but the jazz that most people think of as when you think of jazz is that music that just goes over the head. And it's just all, 15-minute solos. Who wants to see a sax solo for 15 minutes? Not me. Oh, and so that's how I've always, I just, the musicians, the music that I love is that music that really hits your heart and hits you where you are that night. And those are the shows I try to program. And I do that. And the musicians that I bring with me do an amazing job at doing that. And we're pretty successful in, again, hitting that emotion for the audience and in their evening. So, it is jazz. It's not the jazz that you would think of, but I think that answers your question.
Yeah. Well, and you can give them, once they're in the door, you can give them a little bit of that, right? A little taste. Somebody told me once, like we were talking about Thelonious Monk, and he said, you really got to just like close your eyes and think of him as like poking you with his finger, like at these random times, he's kind of like trying to get your attention. And as soon as I learned how to listen to it a little bit differently, it's like, oh, how's this making me feel? As opposed to trying to find the structure or melody. I enjoyed it more.
Yeah.
But it is hard, I think, for people to kind of grasp that, because sometimes it is complicated and it's dissonant, or it can, they'll hit you at a time you wouldn't expect. But that's what's cool about it too, right?
Yeah. I never forget in high school, my mom, obviously I was playing jazz early on, and my mom coming to a show saying, I don't get it. Where's the melody? And I that to me made a lot of sense because it's, you have to get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Go
I don't
ahead.
know that you have to get it. I think that you just have to be open to it and forgive yourself for not getting it sometimes. Right. I think a lot of times we think we're supposed to walk into a performance, whether it's classical music or jazz, dance, or whatever it might be, and think that, oh, we have to get this. And if I don't understand it, it's not for me. And for me, when I go into a performance and I'm not a musician and I'm not a dancer, and I've dabbled in that stuff when I was younger, played the piano, played the clarinet, wanted to play the saxophone, but never explored it beyond, middle school kind of thing. And I walk in and I just am like, wash me over, take me on the ride you want to go on. And that's what jazz is to me, is that you're on a ride with these musicians, and some of it you're not going to like, and some of it you're going to absolutely love.
Yeah.
But that's, if we could all just learn to approach the things we don't know from that perspective. And I think jazz is very much that we would enjoy things a whole lot more. I wish I could tell people, I wish I could really tell people that, like, just, it's okay if you don't get it. It's all right. Do you enjoy it? Did you enjoy the experience? That's what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. And I think if you go to a traditional like jazz show, like it is going to be a journey for the night for you if you allow it to be. And those are definitely great. Like I said, for me, I try to hit a wider audience, and truly, no matter what your likes or dislikes are, I feel you're going to walk away entertained. And
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, well,
It's
and there are certain jazz tunes that I hear that I know from, when I was younger, and we used to listen to it all the time. And when I hear them, I mean, you could say Dave Brubeck's Take Five is one of them, for example. It's a popular song, but it also brings back all of that feeling, all that emotion. Is very nostalgic, and it's fun to hear. And it's even fun to hear the next generation pick it up and go, ah, have you heard Dave Brubeck's? Like I can remember my youngest daughter saying that to me. I mean, like, do I know Dave Brubeck's Take Five? Of course I do.
Well, yeah, I mean, we
You
were
know?
just, I was just, I mean, what is it? Take Five, and then the other album that is the most widely accessible for, not even non-jazz lovers, or I guess it's your entry point into jazz.
Hmm.
One is Take Five with Dave Brubeck, and the other would be Miles Davis, Kind of Blue.
Hmm.
Yeah.
As far
I
as
was always a big fan of Charles Mingus too.
oh, I love
Just
Yeah.
so good, so good.
and see that again, and you listen to Mingus, and his music is not. I mean, yes, he has burners. Like his band was all like amazing, you
Yeah.
know, beboppers, but his music was very even some of it pushed the limits a little bit.
Yeah.
It was
Mhm.
every song of his was very catchy. Like you could latch onto it. Uh,
Right.
and
Well,
even today, it's timeless.
yeah. And well, like, and also guys like Vince Guaraldi,
Hmm.
the Charlie Brown Christmas album is probably,
Yeah.
same up there too with that accessibility. And it's funny, a lot of times I think of like live jazz, and it's the environment is just as important as the music to me. So I'm listening to the music and I'm thinking, oh, I feel like I should be in a cushy lounge with this tiny table and a cocktail in front of me,
Lots of
or
whiskey. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, there's something about it that
Well,
it's
and I think that's what makes Jeff and his friends, right, who are going to be here on New Year's Eve in our inaugural event on the Stage Door at the Stage Door Lounge so much fun is because it is the right music, the right night in this environment that's going to be very club-like, very fun.
well, tell us about the show. You mentioned I ran into you last week and you said, oh, I got some ideas about what we're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Well, we're definitely gonna be in bring the core group, and it's such an amazing band, you know, with Wally Schnally, who's just a legend on drums. I grew up idolizing him as far as a musician, and he's I'm so honored to play with him every night. Wally Schnally, and I'll have Indica on bass, who's just a monster, and he he is definitely everybody loves watching him play because he has this curly long mane of hair that just flies all over.
Yeah.
And I'll have Ken Seflo on guitar, and so that's my core rhythm section, and then I'm bringing my old buddy, crowd favorite, Danny Sandoval on tenor saxophone, and this guy talking about just soulful music and be able to hit everybody's heart. That's him.
Mhm.
He's toured with all the blues greats, and him and I knew each other when I was in high school, and he grew up in El Cerrito. And the guy, you go to Old Town Sacramento, there's a building, a big tall old brick building that has a big mural of Danny Sandoval on it, because he's become kind of Sacramento's blues child.
It's
um,
awesome.
and so he'll be playing sax. And so the vibe of the night, I know it's Chris, when you and I first talked about it, it was it was kind of a cheesy idea, but it worked. Was this whole swinging in the new year, and um, we're gonna go all in on that idea, and the thought is we're gonna bring that hard swing that every you can't stop, but you can't help yourself but get up and dance to. It's that like Louis Prima kind of swing,
Yeah.
is what we're going to bring to the stage, and I think it's going to be special. And of course, in normal Jeff Bordes style, we're going to bring a lot of us. There's a lot of secrets or guests that will appear that night, and it's going to be an amazing evening that people are going to walk out excited for.
Well, you played at our season announcement party, and I could not help but start dancing to one of your songs.
That was a duo too. That was just
Yeah,
trumpet.
I know. We came out, we started dancing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
You just got our feet moving. What could we
Yeah.
do? What could we do?
I got to wear some comfortable shoes on New Year's Eve because we're going to be grooving. Oh.
Ken, my guitarist, he likes to threaten that he's going to be getting on top of the tables dancing that night. So
Okay, we'll get some sturdy tables for him.
that's right.
Well,
Will you have a vocalist that night?
Yes.
Do you think?
I We may have a couple, but we'll
Okay.
definitely have this amazing vocalist out of she lives in San Francisco now. She's from San Jose originally. Jackie Gage is an amazing vocalist. And then others to be announced.
All right.
Great.
We're gonna
Awesome.
it's it's already half sold, just so you know.
Nice.
It's we've barely even talked about it, so it's gonna
Yeah.
sell out.
I was just
So
gonna say I haven't even promoted it to my audience yet. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I better do that.
you better your
You
friends
better
are
let
gonna
'em
lose
know.
out. Yeah. They're gonna lose out on their tickets. Well, before we started, you were Kate, you told us you were coming from Napa, and you have there's another side to Jeff Bordes that I just wanted to like get a peek into that has nothing to do with jazz, although this is an art form, I would say. So can you tell us where you were and what you were doing?
Yeah. So my other world is I work in the food space. Specifically, I work with celebrity chefs. A lot of my friends are some of the biggest names that you see on TV. People that have just, have been in my world for 15 years or so and have, let me into their world and um, um, started out as just my network of friends, but have become part of my business is helping them out. And so I work with celebrity chefs. I was just in Napa with one of the greats. He's not a TV chef, but he's considered one of the most talented chefs in the world. Jeff Cerciello, who was Thomas Keller's partner. He's the one that opened up Ad Hoc and Bouchon, and he owns two restaurants, one in Los Angeles, one in Marin called Farmshop. And so I was just hanging out with him, working on some stuff. But yeah, I have. It's you were talking about it is an art form. I do have a cool story in this regards.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't know, it must have been 4 or 5 years ago. I was walking a trade show. I like to attend these food trade shows to kind of see what's trending and where the food space is going. And I was walking. It's called the Expo West, which is a natural foods trade show, and that's where all the new products are being released. And I was walking the aisle with a friend of mine, celebrity chef Devin Alexander, who was the chef on that TV show Biggest Loser. And she was the one that taught the contestants how to cook and eat healthy. And we're walking the show, and people are coming up to her all over the place, recognizing her. And then someone comes up to me and says, Jeff Bordes, Jeff Bordes. And I'm like, it turns out this guy, he attends a lot of the shows I do in LA. He comes to my music shows and he was a fan. And so Devin is just like taken aback, like, what? This is really weird. Usually people are coming up to me. But, like I said, he ended up being a fan in LA that comes to my shows in LA. And Devin had no idea that I played music, even though I'd known her for many years. And she was like, that makes sense. You've built your career, Jeff, telling the stories behind food and helping chefs like me out and helping food producers out. And it makes sense because you get it. Because as a chef, when you're making a dish, it's a little scary bringing that dish to the table, and it's to either be loved or not loved. Or as a food producer, you're making this jam that you're putting your heart into, and it's your recipe. But when you bring it to someone to try, it's scary. As a musician, when you go on stage, you're opening up your heart and letting people in on who you are. And it's the same kind of emotion, it's the same risk. She said that makes sense that you've done so well telling the stories behind food because you get it. And that was
Yeah.
to me, like, I had never looked at it that way. But music, being a musician, being a chef, being a food producer, it is a craft, it is art. And it
Yeah.
is you're using the same skills, the same chops.
Yeah. Well, if people come to see you, they're going to get a taste of your music, right?
There you go.
That's a great point. Do you cook at home a lot? Are you
I do most
really
of
into it?
Yeah, I love to cook, and I have a competition barbecue team with my kids,
Hmm.
and they do most of the work, and they do really well. So,
What's your go-to? Like, what's your blue ribbon winner that you know is going to be a slam dunk?
I love I don't actually have one dish. I love the thing that I love to do with my kids is we'll take on a different cuisine type or different theme every week, and we'll try something new. And so
Hmm.
always to always push push our limits as far as what we're able to do and try new recipes and try new flavors out. My favorite lately that I've been doing is last year my my birth brother. So we don't have to get into this. I'm adopted. I found my birth family, and my birth father, my birth brother, and we all met in New Orleans. And at 2 in the morning, we ended up at this little liquor store that made po' boys, and we had the most amazing po' boy at like 2 in the morning or something like that. And so I came home, and of course, this place is actually known for their po' boys and for being an all night kind of establishment. It's called the Verity Mart, and so I recreated that po' boy. It's like everything out of the kitchen sink. It's amazing, and so that's. It took me a while to actually match the po' boy that night, but I think I've gotten close. That's been my favorite thing to
Wow.
play around with.
Wait, so does your birth family is from New Orleans?
No, they're from Minnesota.
Oh,
So no, here's the deal. So I'm adopted, always knew I was adopted. I grew up knowing I was adopted. My brother and sister that I grew up with are not adopted. And but my parents always said, when you're old enough, if you ever want to find your birth family, we'll help you. And I never wanted to. I had a great upbringing, great
yeah.
family, but I had questions as far as medical, what kind of
Yeah.
medical history do I have? What's my ethnicity? I didn't know what my ethnicity was. When I was 17, Danny Sandoval, the sax player, he would him and I would go play this Mexican club in San Francisco called El Toro every weekend. And I thought for a while, I thought I was Hispanic. Not.
Yeah.
When I was 19, I decided to look for them. And my father was he was a deputy sheriff for Alameda County, and one day he came home with the records, and I was able, from the information from that file, I was able to find my birth parents. They lived in Minnesota. My birth father is a jazz pianist in Minneapolis, and my birth mom's father, Rudy, was a pretty well-known classical composer,
Hmm.
and he was living in Connecticut at the time. What's
I
that?
got a question for you. So
Yeah.
here it is, your birth family has all of this music in it. What about your adoptive family? Do they have
None.
any of
None.
it? None.
So this is
So
the amazing thing. I've
this is a
actually,
nurture versus nature thing, then,
yes,
isn't it?
one of these days I'm going to write the book about this, because
Hmm.
That's wild.
I've actually been hired to speak at events about this topic. And the story, the Cliff Notes version is, if I had not been adopted, I would have grown up in this small farm town in Plainview, Minnesota, with one stoplight, not much going on in the music scene in Minnesota. But the fact that I was born with music in my blood, but I was born in California and raised in California, and I had parents that made sure that I was exposed, and I got the best teachers. And when I was 16 years old, Johnny Capola, who's considered one of the best jazz trumpet teachers in the world, who lived in San Francisco, took me under his wings. And he taught me when I was 16. My mom would drive me to San Francisco, sit in the car while I studied with this legend.
Hmm.
Or, when I was in 5th grade, even before that, Valley View Elementary School in Pleasanton, going to a school assembly program, and here comes this guy with red shoes out on the stage playing the keyboards, and it was Don Lewis, who's a local legend, but also a legend in the world of music. He's the guy that invented the synthesizer. He
Hmm.
ended up taking me under his wings and taught me every piece of performing. And up until his death a couple years ago, I would feature him on all my shows. So it's nature and nurture working together. If I,
Right.
like, I grew up in California, and I was exposed to the amazing world of music in the Bay Area, because there's so much happening here. Whereas in Minnesota, I would not have been exposed to that.
Right.
And
It sounds like you got a little bit of the best of both worlds.
it
And I don't mean
really,
to make light of any part of your situation here,
100%.
but
Yeah.
but you got the right people to nurture what was your nature.
I had the most
So
amazing supportive parents that really, they saw the talent that was in me, and they made sure that I had every chance for that talent to come out. And so, yeah, very thankful for that. And so in New Orleans, my birth father, the jazz pianist, and my birth brother, who now lives in Concord, we all met in New Orleans, and just because we're all fans of the music, and in fact, we're going to
Hmm.
be back again. And for that birthday celebration, which I guess will be had already happened once this is aired, my birth father, it looks like, is going to come out from Minnesota, and he's going to be
Wow,
on the show.
Lovely.
So
That's
that's
wonderful.
awesome.
yeah,
What a great story.
it's very
A
cool.
really great story.
You should write a song about that.
I should. Let me Chat GPT will help me out on those lyrics.
Yeah, you call Meredith.
Yeah, right.
Well, I'm not going to hold you too much longer. I do want to do one last thing, if you're okay with it. We like to do a little, it's kind of a game, but it's a way to get to know our guests a little better. And I call it either or. And I'll
Okay.
give you a list of 2 items to choose from, and you pick the one that you prefer. Right. So it's not hard. There's no trick questions. It's all up to you.
There's no right answer.
No.
There's no wrong answer.
Sometimes there's a right answer, but they're easy questions. So, like, for example, I would say sunrise or sunset. What's your preference?
I love the sunrise.
Wow, good for you.
I love the energy. In fact, every morning I try to go outside and welcome the sun with a sunrise.
Early riser, which is rare for a jazz man.
It is. This is why I do shows, Chris.
Well, you do what?
This is why I do theater shows.
Theater shows. Good point. Cats or dogs?
Dogs for sure.
Dogs. All right. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
So
Even though
far,
I
so
had
good.
dinner the other night with the son of the founder of the guy that created Star Trek.
Roddenberry?
That was his name, and his son's name was, I can't remember. It was in New York. We were introduced to each other. I forget his first name, but yes, that was him. I had no idea who.
Wow.
I didn't know the name because I'm not.
You had dinner with him? Did the food just like appear right in front of him?
Yes. one of my celebrity chef friends. She was at her restaurant.
That's awesome. Well, speaking of food, since you're into this, you're going to be the definitive answer on this. Pineapple on pizza or no pineapple on pizza?
Absolutely no pineapple on pizza.
No pineapple.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's not a pizza.
It's so good though.
It is so good.
It's so good.
I bet you like barbecue chicken pizza too, don't you?
I'll eat it if it's in front of me. Yeah.
I'm a strictly no meat on pizza person.
Okay.
All right. Are you from New York?
No, but you're not the first to ask me. No.
Okay, another food question. Whole milk or 2%?
Oh, 2%, I think. We actually don't do milk in our house.
No milk. Okay. What, like, do you do almond milk, soy milk?
Yep, we do almond milk a lot of times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Too much salt or too little salt?
Just the right amount of salt.
Just but if you had to pick.
I've been guilty of doing too much salt.
Yeah.
I shy on the less salt end.
Okay. The book or the movie?
Ooh. The book, then the movie.
The book and then the movie. That's a good answer. Here's my one jazz one. Miles Davis or John Coltrane, and I think I know what you're going to say.
Miles Davis for sure, just as being a trumpet player, but
Yeah.
I'm a huge John Coltrane fan.
And what's his album? The Love Supreme. That's his kind
John
of.
Coltrane, Love Supreme, yep.
Yeah, great album.
I did a version of that when I was in. I just found the tape. I did a recording of Love Supreme when I was in college in Boston, and I had members. Do you remember the Wu-Tang Clan, the hip hop?
Yeah.
I had members of the Wu-Tang Clan in the studio with me.
Whoa. I'm a huge Wu-Tang fan.
I just uploaded this. I found this tape. You can hear the wear and tear of it, but it was a student project, and I was helping out my roommate who was a recording engineer student. And at 3 a.m, he said, "Can you put together a band?" So I put together a band at 3 a.m, and we went in the studio and recorded Love Supreme. And we happened to be, some of the guys from Wu-Tang Clan were in our dorms hanging out with us that night.
Wow.
Tell you what we were doing in the dorms at 2 and 3.
Was this at the Berklee School of Music?
Yeah.
I keep trying to tell Chris that we got to I'll put it any way you want. I say Robert Diggs, the RZA, anybody. Just get the RZA here to speak. Don't you think it would be amazing?
It would be amazing. It would be amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
I'll work on it.
Anytime I can push
She
that
keeps
storyline,
bugging
I
me
do.
about that. Well,
I
I love
found that recording. I will send you the link. You can put it on the show notes because I uploaded it to what's that streaming platform that
Spotify?
it's not Spotify. I am on Spotify, but it's not on Spotify. It's that I'll send
sound.
you.
Is it like SoundCloud or
Yeah,
something?
I put it up on
SoundCloud, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Send it our way. We'll include it.
Well, it's funny. I Love Supreme. That you talk about introductory albums. That might not be a good introductory album for somebody. I don't know.
You know, it's talking about emotional and spiritual. It is definitely a spiritual recording. In fact, did you know that there was a church in San Francisco on Divisadero called the African Orthodox Church of Saint John the Divine, and it's celebrated John Coltrane, the prophet. And you walked in, and there's like paintings and tapestries of John Coltrane everywhere. And you sit down and you bring your instrument, and then when the service starts, like 6 priests come in their garb, all playing saxophone, and they're playing a Love Supreme, and they get on the altar. And then, you know, as a musician, you know, you can stand up and play just randomly like you would at church, saying, oh, you know,
Amen.
It was
That's
quite
awesome.
the experience. It's not there anymore, but
what'd they say about him? Sheets of music, sheets of notes, or whatever. There was some
the
term.
wall of sound or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna move on. I know the answer to this one too, because you said it earlier. Major key or minor key?
Yeah, definitely minor.
Minor.
What does that say about me?
What?
What does that say about me?
What does that say about you? Well,
here's what I've learned as a non-musician. Let me tell you what it says about you, because I've asked this question of others, because almost everybody chooses minor key. We've had a couple people say major key, but minor key is more emotional. It gets in there. It's got the mood. Minor key sets that mood, whereas as major key, you know, it's major key, I guess. So that's how the non-musician understands
we've
it.
had some of the artists will say major if you want to hit, but minor if it's something you really want to do.
That's right. I get that.
Yeah. You said you were passionate. That's the right key for a passionate person, I guess.
I would say so. It's easier to express yourself, for sure.
Yeah. Drums or bass?
Bass, for sure.
Bass. You need that bass line.
I love that bass.
Yeah. Lennon or McCartney?
I would say McCartney. I'm not, you know, I didn't really grow up on that music, so I respect it, but I default, I would say McCartney.
Okay. These are some Bay Area questions for you. It's your Bay Area guy. San Francisco Giants or Oakland A's?
Definitely Giants.
Giants. 49ers or Raiders?
Raiders.
Oh, Giants and then Raiders. Okay.
Interesting.
Last one. Livermore, California on New Year's Eve this year, or anywhere else in the world?
No other place I'd rather be than the Bankhead Theater in Livermore.
All right. Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Jeff. And I've known you for a while, but I did learn a lot of new things today. So thank you for sharing, and really appreciate it.
Awesome. This was a lot of fun.
Absolutely a pleasure for me as well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on and making time today.
It's going to be a great show. We'll see you on December 31st, man. We'll both be 50 by then.
Well, I know. We're walking in on canes. Again, this is another good reason for being there on New Year's. We get to be home by 11 o'clock that day.
Exactly. Don't forget your shingles shot too, by the way. I think that's coming up.
Is that a 50s thing?
Thanks for the heads up.
Yeah, no problem. All right, you're off.
You can also join AARP. So have fun with that.
That's right.
Get your discounts. You're off the hook. Thank you, Jeff.
Awesome. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you. Have a great evening. Bye. Thank you for joining us for Beyond the Stage, featuring Jeff Bordes. He's going to be performing here live at the Bankhead at the Stage Door Lounge on December 31st at 8 p.m. He's going to be swinging in the new year. You should get your tickets now at livermorearts.org or by calling our box office at 925-373-6800. And I'm Ruth Eggerman.
And I'm Chris Carter.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
won't you pour me